Hello and welcome to your reception welcome meeting. Not usually how we do a meeting, but in the current circumstances, this was the best option. I'm very grateful that I've been able to meet many of you who've been through our nursery, and I very much look forward to meeting the rest of the families who are joining us in reception this year. This meeting is going to hopefully answer some of your questions about what school may look like next year and how we are going to welcome you all to our school. I'm going to share my screen with you shortly and show you a few pieces of information that will help us all get settled and feel happy. Let me find where we are, and hopefully you can now see the screen that welcomes you to Summerswood. Let's get started. First thing to do is to welcome you to the team who unfortunately can't be here at the moment for social distancing purposes, but I'm going to introduce them to you anyway. We have Miss Green. I'm hoping you can see my screen, my mouse moving on the screen. So this is Miss Green. She's joining us in school this year. In fact, she's starting with us next week. In fact, for you, it'll probably be this week by the time we've sent this out. So she's joining us next week, and she is very excited about being the teacher for Class Disney. She's going to be joined by the ever brilliant and ever sparkly and fantastic Mrs. Quick. Mrs. Quick is an experienced member of our early years team, and she's very excited to welcome your children into her class. In Class Longstocking, we've got Mrs. Dodia, who has joined us this year, and she's been working happily through this strange circumstance of only having a few children in school, but she's excited to be welcoming your children. And she'll be joined by Miss Hay, who's also been at our school for about a year, and she is also an expert in supporting children in the early years. The team really can't wait to meet you, and they're looking forward to saying hello in person. Once your child comes into our school, they're going to continue what they've already been doing, which is the early years curriculum. This goes from when your child is born until they're 5 years old. And there's different areas: personal, social, emotional development, communication and language, and physical development, which we see a lot of movement on, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of that in their time at home, lots of physical development. And then there's the specific areas: literacy, mathematics, understanding of the world, and expressive arts and design. That may mean you see your child come home covered in paint and glitter, and we're not sorry. It's all part of their learning process, and they're going to have a great time. Those of you who are already in our nursery will be familiar with Tapestry. It's something that we use to ensure that parents at home have a good understanding of your own child's development and learning across the year. You'll see photographs and videos and information written by the class teacher to tell you how your child has made progress. We'll also be asking you to be involved with that, and there'll be more information about that in the autumn term, so nothing for you to worry about for now, but you will have your own login and you'll only be able to see your own child's information. It's not a shared server where you get to see everybody's information. Now, as we come back to school, phonics and reading are always important, but they're going to be even more important after this break we've had from school. Every day, your child will be having a phonics session, learning all the different sounds they need to help them read. They'll also have some home reading books, and they'll also have some sound cases, a small box with different sounds in that will come home, and we'll be asking you to help them learn those sounds as we go. For those of us that didn't learn our reading through phonics, it's a good learning curve for us as well. It's very important that we teach the sound of the letter rather than the name of the letter. So instead of saying this is the letter A, we talk about instead. Lots of learning to be done, but again, nothing for you to worry about too much at the moment. We will show you everything you need to know. English activities in school are very fluid. As you can see from the pictures on the screen, we get the children to do English in the most peculiar places, in some flour, in the sand. Sometimes they do their English work hiding under a table. We don't mind where the children's English work is happening. It's happening all the time, and we're really excited for you to help us get their English language to grow during their time in reception. Maths is very similar. Maths is happening for the children all the time, throughout their time in school. And they do lots of work with physical things to help those numbers stick in their brain. Again, much more information about their daily learning will be on their Tapestry, so you'll be able to see exactly what they're up to. The children will be spending a lot of time in our outdoor learning environment, where there are many activities for them to be completing. We try and ensure that when they're outside, the activities they're doing are led by them. And if they've got particular interests, we try and make sure that the things we have out for them engage their learning. And they'll be doing English outside and maths outside, and all of the other learning will be happening in and out of the classroom. This is an example of what the reception daily routine could look like, just so you've got an understanding of what the day might look like. It could change, there could be some updates depending on what the government is telling schools they need to do. But as an example, your child will come into school from about 8:40 and they'll self-register, so there'll be a picture that they find, and usually in reception they get to choose what lunch they're having with their picture, so they'll choose which colour lunch they're having. And then at the start of the day, there'll be a good morning activity, perhaps the days of the week, looking at the weather. And then they'll go on to do something physical, perhaps some fizzy gym, dancing along to some favourite songs, or going outside onto the playground to do the daily mile, another activity to get their bodies and brains working. After that, there'll be a carpet session with an adult with some sort of focus activity. Then they get to have PAL time, which is play and learning. That's when the children get to choose what they would like to do and where they would like to play. That's also when we have snack time. Carpet session and focus activities happen again after snack time. At 11:30, that's when the children begin to wash their hands. Then there's a story or a song to get them ready for lunchtime. After that, it's the afternoon register, and that's when they'll do some phonics. The afternoon has some playtime, guided reading to help them with their reading activities, and then as they get ready for home time, there might be another story before you guys come and collect them. Lunchtime is always a very important question, particularly for the children. We have a lunch menu that changes every 3 weeks, and you will have a copy of what that looks like when we receive it. And it's important for you to know that all children in reception are entitled to free school meals. So children in reception, year 1 and year 2, the government pay for all of their lunches, and the lunches here are delicious. So I would be encouraging you to let your child have a school meal. If they're not happy to, no problem, you can send them in with a packed lunch. At this point, it's important to note that I haven't mentioned breakfast club or after school club. And that's because at the moment, we're not certain what that's going to look like with government guidelines for keeping children in their own bubble. So once we know what that's going to look like, I will be sure to let you know. But at the moment, I haven't got an answer. Usually at the start of reception, we do home visits. Home visits are an opportunity for us to come into your home, to get to meet you, to get to see your child. But at the moment, we can't quite do it that way. So we will be doing those remotely. Something similar to this, we'll be using Zoom or Teams so that we can meet you and meet your little one as well who's joining us. We have a transition week that we're just checking the final plans for this, but this will be an opportunity for your children to come into school in a smaller group. So the groups will be broken down into Group A and Group B, and they'll have a little bit of time in the classroom to get to know it and see what it looks like before we have all of the children in school by the middle of the week commencing the 14th of September. And by the end of the week, we have the children in full time. I'm sure that's a day you're looking forward to. One thing that's very important at Summerswood, and actually at any school, is the role that parents play. We see it as a joint venture, educating your children, and that's been particularly so over these past few weeks and months where schools have been closed. We are partners in getting your child to be where they need to be, and we will invite you into school when we're able to do so for things such as stay and play sessions, where you get to see your child doing an activity, you get to join in. There's also parents' evenings where we talk in a bit more depth about the progress your child has made. We use Tapestry to make sure that we have as much information shared there, and we encourage you to use that as well, to share with us new things that have happened. If your child's first tooth has fallen out, if they've been able to use their scooter properly for the first time, please tell us. We love to share all of those things, and we'll be sharing those things with you, the things that happen at school. We love parents to be involved with trips and topics that we're involved with. So if we're going on a trip, we ask families to join us, parents to join us to help keep the children safe. But we're also interested if you guys have got an interest that would be of interest to the children. If your job is something that we could teach the children about, you may be encouraged to come on in and talk to them about the job you do and how you work. And we would love to have as many families in school as possible. The other time we ask you guys to be in touch with us is if your child is unwell, or if perhaps you're going to be late. You can contact the school office and we will share that information with the class teachers, so we're not worrying why you're not at school. Next up, school uniform. On this page you'll see that there is a website that we get our school uniform from, and it's quite simple. There's a nice little picture of a lovely little boy who I think is now near 5, so he's quite old now, but in his smart school uniform, white shirt, grey or black trousers or a skirt, and we've got a navy sweatshirt with the school logo. All the information is on there for you. We do ask that you send some spare uniform into school to change into, just in case there may be any accidents or incidents. We've got a few bits in school, but it's always nice to be able to change into your own clothes if there has been a bit of a problem. So please make sure you think about that when the children come to join us in September. Things that must be remembered: all clothes, all bags, anything your child brings to school, please make sure it's got a name on it. I'm sure you'll be saying to us at some point, oh, my child's lost their cardigan, they've lost their jumper. If it's got a name in it, it gets back much quicker than anything that doesn't. So use a Sharpie pen, get some labels, however it works. Please make sure your children's clothing and bags are all named. There's always notices and newsletters that we do to keep in touch. So usually every Friday I write a newsletter that will be emailed to you all to keep up with, but it's also on our website. And the teachers usually keep our websites updated weekly. At the moment, they're not quite looking the same because they've got home learning information on them, but still go onto our website, have a look and see what information we've been sharing. We are going to be doing these home visits with you, and perhaps in the next week or so, staff from school will be in touch to plan the dates and times that they will be. So look out for a call from one of your teachers or teaching assistants to get that in place. If you've got any questions, please write them down, send them in to us, save them for your meeting. We are very happy to answer any questions you may have. I'm sorry I'm not able to show you what reception looks like at the moment, but I've got 2 groups of children in there at the moment who are in a bubble, and I'm not allowed in there to show you around. And even if I did, it's not quite looking how it will do when the children come back in September. So for now, that's all from me. Any questions you have, we're very happy to answer. Thank you very much for joining in our meeting, and I look forward to meeting you all in person in the coming months.